My name is Dick Lamb. The sound you have just heard is not that of an ordinary football crowd. This was a very particular crowd and was recorded at the precise moment on November 17, 1956, when football famine was ended and football greatness achieved. A new king was crowned, the defender lay mortally beaten, and Iowa's Hawkeyes had just conquered Ohio State. The Big Ten title, a Rose Bowl invitation, and national acclaim were the spoils. During the next 55 minutes, you will hear the voices, the sounds, and the excitement that together made up some of the greatest moments in Iowa football history. This, then, is a living sound record of greatness as it happened. And though these are the sounds of days that are past, the voices and the excitement are real. With the arrival of Forest Evashevski on the University of Iowa campus, a football renaissance took place, which made its impact felt throughout Iowa, the Big Ten, and the nation. Evie did not play a single game for Iowa, yet he alone was most responsible for the Hawkeye rise from gridiron obscurity to the pinnacle of success. Evidence of what was to come appeared in 1952, his first year as head coach, when Iowa stunned the football world with the season's biggest upset, an 8-0 victory over nationally ranked Ohio State. 1 year later, an even more dramatic football classic was destined to unfold. The scene was Notre Dame Stadium, South Bend, Indiana. The Fighting Irish, ranked number 1 in the nation, were favored by 3 touchdowns when the game began. But Iowa scored early and held a 7-0 lead as the second quarter drew to a close.
The line of scrimmage, the clock is running, 7 seconds left to play in the first half, and it brings up 4th down for Notre Dame at about 6. A Notre Dame man is down. The clock is starting to run, and I believe he's not hurt. There's some faking going on down on the field. The Notre Dame man came into the line. He was standing up, and all of a sudden, we hate to say that he's faking an injury, but maybe that's what it looks like.
He certainly is. Of course, he stopped the clock.
1 second left to go in the first half. If we can go by the scoreboard clock, the Iowa fans don't like it. Wait a minute, that was Baracchione. The Iowa fans don't like it. The Notre Dame fans are cheering, so there you have it. The clock would have run out had he not done that. So Baracchione is helped off the field. He doesn't need much help to get off there. It's 4th down coming up for Notre Dame and 9. Fading to throw. Guglielmi tosses, and it is complete for a Notre Dame touchdown. Dan Shannon of Chicago caught the ball on 4th down for Notre Dame. They've been thrown for a loss on 3rd down. Then they got that extra time with a second left to go in the first half. Notre Dame scores on 4th down on a pass to Dan Shannon in the end zone from Guglielmi, and Iowa leads 7-6. But now the important point after is coming up. Joe Heap will hold. Don Schaefer will kick. The boys rush. The kick is in the air, and it is good. The score's tied up 7-7 between Iowa and Notre Dame, with the scoreboard clock showing the end of the first half. And apparently that is officially the end of the first half. With Iowa and Notre Dame all tied up, and B Green, we've seen a great football game, a game in which Notre Dame and Iowa both used a lot of strategy.
We certainly have, and that last play is going to be talked about for the next many, many years. There was 1 second on the clock. The boy was standing in the huddle. He was perfectly healthy. Suddenly he collapsed. Of course, it's smart football, but whether the referee should have allowed the timeout is going to be one of the greatest questions of the year.
Late in the 4th period, with the score still tied 7-7, Binky Broder, playing the greatest game of his career, led the Hawks downfield.
It's 3rd down and 4. Iowa 4 yards away from a touchdown with 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Everybody waiting in anticipation. Hawkeyes up the line of scrimmage. It's Hilgenberg over the ball. Terry Moran, or rather Matakowicz, has come in to direct things. Single wing goes to the right. Here's Matakowicz. The pitch out play goes this time. A pass into the end zone is complete. It's an Iowa touchdown. Ladies and gentlemen, a pass from Bobby Stearns, who just came into the Iowa backfield, to Frank Gilliam is complete. It's an Iowa touchdown. Iowa leads Notre Dame 13-7. Believe it or not, coming in to try the point after is Jim Freeman of Iowa City in one of the most unbelievable ball games we've ever seen. We have not quite 2 minutes left to play. A tremendous catch by Gilliam in the end zone. as Iowa sent it a special play. A kick by Freeman is good, and it's Iowa 14 and Notre Dame 7. B. Green, what do you think about that?
I'm almost speechless, Jim, but that was one of the greatest pass catches in history. He simply stretched himself out along the ground. He took the ball just off the turf. He pulled it in. It's a touchdown.
Oh, brother, we're going to talk about this one for a long time. We've never seen a football game with so many dramatic moments. And now, Notre Dame with its back to the wall. The Irish, one of the great teams in our history. That scoreboard up there showing Iowa 14 and Notre Dame 7 with 2 minutes left to play.
However, Notre Dame received the kickoff and again roared back.
We have 30 seconds left to play. The clock is still running. Will time run out? What is going to happen at Notre Dame? 2 Notre Dame men are down flat on their back. And once again, we suspect the Irish, I hate to say it, but once again we suspect the Irish may be using those injuries to stop the clock.
Well, whether they're doing it intentionally or not, they're stopping the clock, and I guess that's the main thing. It puts it right down there where it was a while ago when they got the first touchdown.
Notre Dame on a fabulous aerial march from their 43-yard line now is down on the Iowa 9-yard line where they have the ball, first down and 10. And now a Notre Dame injured man is being led off the field. The Notre Dame bench is a beehive of activity. Frank Leahy running around down there. The whole Notre Dame coaching staff, 9 strong, is running around. And, of course, the Notre Dame players are on the field. The clock has started. 25 seconds left to play. Notre Dame is up to the line of scrimmage. Guglielmi face the throw. He's being rest. He throws. It is batted down. It's incomplete into the end zone. Eddie Vincent back there batted it down for Iowa. A great pass defender this afternoon, Eddie Vincent. And that is going to bring second down and 9 for Notre Dame. Dan Shannon has come in at right end for the Irish. Second down and 9. 12 seconds exactly left on that scoreboard clock between now and possibly one of the greatest upsets in history. Guglielmi faced the throw. He's being rushed. He throws, and it's incomplete. Incompleted forward pass into the end zone. Once again, stops the clock. Bob Phillips broke it up that time, along with Eldine Matheson. So we have third down and 9. Guglielmi tried to pass into the end zone, intended that time for Johnny Latner. Joe Heap was also down there. Third down and 9 for Notre Dame. They're passing, of course, because that's the only way to stop the clock. They may try a running play to deceive the Iowa Hawkeyes. Here goes Guglielmi. He's fading to throw. It's a bullet pass into the end zone. It's a Notre Dame touchdown. Notre Dame scores in the same manner they did in the first half with exactly 6 seconds left to play. Notre Dame, Guglielmi threw to Dan Shannon in the end zone. Shannon caught it for a Notre Dame touchdown. The score is Iowa 14, Notre Dame 13. And what will this extra point attempt bring in one of the most fantastic football games that we have ever seen? Coming in to hold, kick will be done. Schaefer, Joe Heap will hold. The Iowa line, of course, will rush. Here's the kick attempt, and it is good. It's Notre Dame 14, Iowa 14.
That tie cost Notre Dame the national title in 1953. Speaking whimsically to Iowa followers in the wake of the game, Coach Forest Evashevski borrowed a leaf from the pages of Grantland Rice.
I just want to close with a great slogan that we can use from now on. I don't want to turn poet, but I can't help but recite it here. And that is, when the one great scorer comes to write against our name, he won't ask whether we won or lost, but how come we got gypped at Notre Dame?
Dusty Rice, a 3-time Iowa football letter winner, spoke confidently and prophetically at a banquet after the 1953 season when he said,
"It's been a pleasure this year to be in the groundwork of what I think is going to be the great era of Iowa football. I think that from now on that Iowa's going to be a feared name on the rival squad, and I do think that under this staff that we will become one of the possibly the great powers of the Midwest and the nation, and I think in a few years we will be in that Rose Bowl."
Less than 3 years later, that prediction became a reality. Little did anyone realize as the 1956 season began that this team would rank favorably with any ever produced at the University of Iowa. On October 6th, Oregon State invaded Iowa City. The Hawkeyes, with number 1 quarterback Kenny Ploen sidelined because of an injury, trailed throughout most of the game. Then in the fourth quarter,
makes it 3rd and 13. The ball on the 33-yard line of Oregon State. Back once again goes Duncan on the bootleg at the 43. Fires a long, long pass for Gibbons. He's got it. 41,000 going wild in Iowa Stadium. Iowa has just tied the ball game 13-13. A sophomore quarterback, Randy Duncan, bringing his forces back from the brink of defeat, has fired a long touchdown pass to left end Jim Gibbons, a junior from Chicago, Illinois, a 200-pounder, getting himself free and catching that ball in the coffin corner. Bob Prescott, a sophomore from Sioux City, kicking the extra point. All important, it's in the air. It's good! 14-13. Listen to this Iowa crowd.
that narrow margin was only the first of 2 Iowa victories over Oregon State, for they were destined to meet again. Early in November, Minnesota played host to the determined band of Hawkeyes. Rose Bowl fever was high in Minneapolis as the Golden Gophers took the field. But a fumble recovery following the opening kickoff gave the ball to Iowa.
So here it is now, 4th down, 4 yards to go for a first down, 8 yards to go for a touchdown. Wing T formation left. DeBrino is the wingback. Ploen throwing to Gibbons on the 1-yard line. Jim Gibbons took it on the 1-yard line. They have moved from the 8-yard line to the 1-yard line, and it is first down and goal to go. Bobby Cox was the man who made the tackle. Now the ball is marked ready for play, and they have 25 seconds to snap it. This time it is formation right. Happel is the wingback. Ploen is the quarterback. Instead it's the fullback in there for the touchdown. Fred Harris. Fred Harris carried it in for the touchdown, and Iowa leads by a score of 6-0. Bob Prescott will kick the extra point. Prescott is 12 for 12 this year. He has tried 12 extra points. He has made all 12 of them. That is Kenny Ploen holding for him. From the 9-yard line, Ploen will hold, Prescott will kick. It is good. And as they come back up the field, it is Iowa 7 and Minnesota nothing with 9 minutes.
Iowa maintained that 7-0 lead with a courageous defense, and the last Gopher threat died in the waning minutes of the fourth quarter.
Cox dropping back to throw. Cox throws, and it is intercepted by Happel. He's up to his 40, his 45. And Bill Happel returns to his own 48-yard line with 2 minutes, 12 seconds left to play in this football game. That's the third Iowa interception today. Happel has 2 of them. Now here's Red Grange. Red?
Lindsay, when Happel intercepted the Minnesota pass, I think that was the key play of the ball game. It certainly was defensively anyway, because he brought it back to his own 48-yard line. And with only 2 minutes and 12 seconds left when he intercepted that ball, the chances are that Iowa may run the clock out. Here we go, Lindsay.
4th down, 3 yards to go, and the clock says 19 seconds left to play in this football game. Minnesota, of course, still would like to get it for one big play. DeBrino carrying. Now check and see if he made the first down. First down for Iowa, and the clock says now 7 seconds left. 6 seconds left. The ball is on the 31-yard line. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and that's it. Iowa wins. That's the end of the ball game. Evashevski's carried off the field with the final score. Iowa 7, Minnesota nothing.
On Saturday, November 17th, the proud defending champions of Ohio State moved into Iowa Stadium with the longest Big Ten winning streak in conference history, 17 straight. A victory over Iowa would give the Buckeyes an unprecedented 3rd consecutive title. There was a sign in the Iowa dressing room which read, "You have 60 minutes to beat Ohio State and a lifetime to remember it." The manner in which the Iowa team rose to the occasion has become a legend in the Midwest. A highly excited crowd of more than 57,000 watched the 2 mobile lines battle on even terms throughout a bruising, scoreless first half. Then in the 3rd quarter, the most important play ever witnessed on the turf of Iowa Stadium.
The line is split, flanker right Happel. Here is Kenny Ploen rolling out, firing a pass downfield. seconds left to go in the third quarter. Iowa has scored on a pass from quarterback Kenny Ploen to left end Jim Gibbons. Iowa leads Ohio State now here in the third period, and Bob Prescott will attempt the all-important extra point. Ploen is holding. The ball is down. The kick is in the air. It is no good. Prescott has missed his first extra point attempt of the year. Iowa 6, Ohio State nothing. 10 minutes and 41 seconds left to go in the third period.
Iowa made that 6-point lead stand up with one of the greatest defensive performances seen in the Big Ten. Ohio State, with its coach Woody Hayes putting on a wild demonstration along the sidelines, tried desperately to score. And as the minute hand made its final journey around the clock, the Buckeyes were filling the air with passes.
Fourth down, 30 yards to go. Buckeyes ball on their own 12. Elwood pitching out to Roseboro, back to throw at the 2. He is clobbered at the 3-yard line by Iowa's Ellis Karras, and the Ohio State threat is dead at that point. Time is called now, 13 seconds. They're trying to wave time out, but the clock shows it's still running. Iowa huddling quickly. The Hawkeyes have the ball on the 3-yard line of Ohio State. 5 seconds, 4 seconds. They're up to the line of scrimmage, but one of the Buckeyes is offside. 2 seconds, 1 second. This game is history. The Hawkeyes are on the field, swarming their teammates. The flags are down, but this ball game is over. Iowa has upset Ohio State 6-0, breaking the longest winning streak in Big Ten history, and Iowa now has at least a share of the Big Ten championship. This is the greatest moment in Iowa football history in 34 years. The last time an Iowa team won a Big Ten championship or a share of it was back in 1921 and 22. They're carrying Iowa's quarterback Kenny Ploen off the field, and they're mobbing those teammates out on the field right now.
In the pandemonium that followed, the steel goalposts, sunk in 6 feet of concrete, were ripped down, and the celebration moved into full swing. The scene was the Iowa Memorial Union on Saturday night. More than 3,000 students and Hawkeye boosters had packed their way in to pay homage to the new Gridiron Kings. This is what Coach Forest Evashevski told them.
It's an honor going to the Rose Bowl to represent the University of Iowa that these young bunch of fighters richly deserve. They fought hard from the start, and I think they were determined to make this a successful season, and only sheer determination could do that. I would like to say that I think these are young men that you can be justly proud of as representing yours and my university.
Congratulatory accolades, of course, were numerous. This is how one longtime Iowa reporter-announcer described the Hawkeye victory.
Good evening, everyone, for the Hawkeye wrap-up, and what a wrap-up we've got for you tonight. This is the day. This is the one you've been waiting for. 1922, the last time that our Iowa Hawkeye team shared a Western Conference championship. They came awfully close with a marvelous ball team in 1939. They gave it a real try with a fine football team in 1953. But today, a ball club that I like to think took advantage of every opportunity during the season, had the first favorable schedule that we've seen here at Iowa for a good long time due to the fact that we're a little prone to want to be playing on the road. But today, the climax came. This ball club with superlative coaching, exceptional line play, and a continuation of the brilliant offense that has been brand new here at Iowa this fall, brought the boys in with a 6-0 win over the defending champion Ohio State Buckeyes, who can of course still share the title with Iowa. But that victory gave the Hawks a share of the conference title, put them very definitely in the Rose Bowl, regardless of how anybody else's games come out either this week or next. I have never seen a team that I thought more deserving of the honors that these youngsters have earned for themselves this year.
The following week, Iowa closed its regular season by romping over Notre Dame 48-8, one of the worst defeats in Irish history. The Hawkeyes scored the first 5 times they had the ball. With the score 28-0 in the third quarter,
It's just short of the 39-yard line of Iowa, and the third down coming up and about a foot to go for a first down. Here's the handoff to Harris over the middle. Harris is through with the ball. He's in the clear to the 40, the 30, he's all the way to the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5, and he's over. Karras all the way, 61 yards. Karras to a touchdown. And the score becomes 34-0, Iowa leading.
And just minutes later, the Hawks struck again.
Here it's 2nd and 8. Cook back to throw. Sets, throws one long down the field to Morris. It's intercepted by Happel. Happel is up the field to the 30, 35, the 40. He's brought down on about the 47-yard line. He grounded off on the 20-yard line. Bill Happel on the 20-yard line of Iowa snatched that forward pass out of Jimmy Morris's arms and raced back upfield to the 48-yard line. The 48-yard line of Iowa where it's 1st and 10 to go for Iowa now. Tom O'Brien brought him down there for Notre Dame. Wing tee to the right. Ploen takes. Hands off to DeBrino, who hands off to Hagler. Hagler breaks through on a reverse. He's going. He's to the 30. He's to the 20. He's to the 10. He's all the way with Reynolds pursuing him. All the way. 52 yards for the touchdown.
A visitor in the Iowa dressing room after the Notre Dame game was Calvin Jones, two-time All-America guard and bulwark of the 1953, 54, and 55 teams. Here is the last recorded interview with Cal Jones before his untimely death in a Canadian air tragedy 2 weeks later.
Guys really came along. They're really a great bunch of football players, and I'm just glad to see them come along the way they have.
What do you think sitting up there playing? Would you like to have one more season of college ball with these
Oh,
guys?
it would be nice being in there with those guys going out there to the Rose Bowl.
You still have loved that trip. Is there any chance you can go out?
Well, I think I will make it out.
I thought you might.
Yeah.
You couldn't go as a player, Cal. At least you can go as a very fine pro player and watch these kids play.
Yes, I can.
What does Frank Gilliam have to say about playing with this bunch? Is he glad he came back again?
Oh, terrifically glad. He's just hoping that maybe he could have played with the rest of Eddie Vincent and myself. We could have had this year, but as it is, they've done a great job, and I'm really proud of them. I know everyone else in Iowa is.
Engineer of the 1956 team was its quarterback, Kenny Ploen, named the Big Ten's most valuable player.
I appreciated very much the opportunity being a small part of this great football team this year. I don't know when I've ever met a greater bunch of guys or had more fun playing football than I did this year. I really appreciated the opportunity of playing with these guys and being coached by the swell coaching staff at the State University of Iowa. I think they're the greatest.
The job turned in by Forest Evashevski and his staff did not pass without national recognition. Longtime coach Frank Leahy, speaking to a coast-to-coast television audience, said,
And our coach of the year, the All-American 1956 coach, a man who has gone through a back-breaking schedule. This young gentleman, about whom I speak, is definitely one of the greatest football coaches in the United States of America. Mr. Forest Evashevski of the University of Iowa.
and Evie graciously passed many bouquets on to his Hawkeyes.
The credit goes to a wonderful group of kids who had the firm resolve to go out and win a championship, which they did. I have never been more proud of a group of young men who have done such a magnificent job. I have never known a group of men who placed the team above their own selfish interests more than a group has, such as this year.
But he also cautioned the players.
Every rose I've ever had smelled fragrant, but also there was always a thorn on the stem, so be awfully careful about handling it, gentlemen. We have Oregon State to meet on January the 1st.
On New Year's Day, more than 15,000 Iowans invaded Pasadena to watch the Hawkeyes heed the advice of their coach.
2nd and 12 for Iowa on the Oregon State College 49-yard line. Balance line, wing T right, Mike Hagler on the wing. Dobrino and Nocera behind Ploen. A keep by Ploen, and he's going. Gets a good block. He's down to the 40 and to the 35 and still on his way and driving. He's to the 15, to the 10, to the 5, and he's over. Kenny Ploen on the NBC All-America team goes 49 yards for the touchdown. Don Dobrino threw a key block along the sideline, and Jim Gibbons, the left end, threw the final block that paved the way for the run, knocking Tom Berry out of the picture. Now the try for the point. Bob Prescott will attempt it. It's good. And Iowa leads by a score of 7-0. Kenny Ploen held the ball and Bob Prescott booted it. And Kenny Ploen, the senior quarterback who has been the key man in the Iowa march to the Big Ten title this year that moved them into the Rose Bowl for the first time, sensationally went 49 yards for that touchdown with great blocks by Don DeBrino and Jim Gibbons breaking him loose for the run.
Later in the first quarter, the Hawkeyes were on the move again.
It's a first down for Iowa on the Oregon State College 46. Again, a 6-2-2-1. Don DeBrino running. Look at him go. He's to the 40. Getting blocking. He's to the 30, to the 25, to the 20, to the 15, and down on the 9 by Joe Francis. Johnny Nocera broke the ball carrier loose with a key block back upfield as Don DeBrino ran beautifully and went to the 9 for a 37-yard run on that play. Oregon State College was billed as the breakaway team insofar as its runners were concerned, but it's Iowa who has done the long running today with Ploen going 49 yards and DeBrino having just gone 37. Buzz Randall in for Dick Carrick at center for Oregon. Mike Hagler running. He's down to the 5, and he's all the way in for the touchdown. Speedy Mike Hagler from Washington, D.C. Broken loose by right guard Bob Cummins, and it's 13-0 in favor of Iowa.
At halftime, the Hawks held a 21-6 lead. Then in the third quarter, with the ball on Iowa's 34-yard line,
Playing the quarterback, DeBrino and Harris, or rather Nocera, in behind him, and Hagler on the wing. On a reverse, there goes Mike Hagler, and he's to the midfield. He may go all the way. He's to the 40. He's to the 30. He's to the 20, to the 10, and all the way for the touchdown. A 66-yard run by Collins Hagler, 21-year-old junior. And Iowa's out in front, 27-6. Kenny Ploen handed off to Don DeBrino, who handed it off to Collins Hagler, or Mike Hagler as he's called, on the reverse, going 66 yards. Beautiful run. Kenny Ploen holding, and Bob Prescott trying the extra point. It's good. Iowa 28, Oregon State College 6. The Hawkeyes have turned in some sensational runs today.
As the fourth quarter opened, the Iowans scored still another touchdown, their fifth of the day, en route to a 35-19 triumph.
Driven out by All-America John Whitty, Oregon State left tackle number 75. Fullback Fred Harris, number 35, led the play. Ball's on the 16, actually right in between the 16 and 17-yard lines. And so it is fourth down coming up with about 2 to go for Iowa. Jim Gibbons, number 88 at left end. Frank Gilly made his 7 at right end. Bill Gravel, 14. Fred Harris, 35. Bill Happel, number 40. Gravel is on the wing left. And Ploen rolling out. He's got a man open in the end zone, and it is caught for the touchdown by Jim Gibbons.
1957 was a year filled with mixed emotions for Iowa football followers. Elation and pride following wins over Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Notre Dame. Heartbreak and pride after a close loss to Ohio State. The season began with one of the most astounding performances by an Iowa player seen in the stadium. Geno Sessi, appearing against Utah State as a sophomore in his first game, handled the ball 3 times, gained 132 total yards, and scored 3 touchdowns as Iowa trounced the Westerners 70-14. His most amazing run left 40,000 fans and a radio reporter limp with excitement.
Okay, Randy Duncan throws the pass. It's complete to Sessi. Geno Sessi is still going. Reversing his field. Down to 30, 25, to 20, to 10, to 5, and to an awful brother. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse us for getting excited. That is one of the greatest runs I have ever seen in field, ran backwards, ran crisscross, ran 80 yards for a touchdown. And I think he probably actually traveled about 100 yards the way he was going the wrong direction part of the time, picking up his blockers. And let's give credit to the blockers. He had a lot of them. He had 3 or 4 at the goal line still with him. Boy, what a run that was. Here's Karras. He kicks. And it's good. And it's Iowa 61, Utah State 7. Boy, this Sessi. Excuse us for getting so excited, but this was one of the most spectacular broken field runs I've ever seen in my life. For a guy zigging and zagging. Sessi gets a tremendous hand in the ground. Karras gets hit in the tip of his hand. Geno Sessi scores his 3rd touchdown of the day. He had a 37-yard run. He scored on a 15-yard screen pass, and now he runs 80 yards. One of the most spectacular broken field jobs we've ever seen.
Deserved honors were bestowed upon many fighting Hawkeyes following the 1957 season. One, tackle Alex Karras, was a consensus All-America selection and named by the Football Writers Association of America as the outstanding interior lineman in the nation. Here is Alex Karras accepting the John B. Outland Award.
On behalf of the big guys in the line that open up the holes for the little guys, I would like to thank the sports writers of America, football sports writers of America, for making this wonderful honor possible. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
With a record of only 2 losses in their previous 19 games, the Hawkeyes looked forward with anticipation as the 1958 season approached. But another murderous schedule confronted Coach Forest Evashevski and his team. The first crucial Big Ten test came at Madison, Wisconsin on October 18th. Both teams were unbeaten, and though still early in the season, conference title hopes, a Rose Bowl bid, and high national ranking were at stake. The Badgers, playing before the largest home crowd in their history, dominated the first 2 periods and held a 9-0 lead at halftime. However, an inspired Iowa team scored early in the 3rd quarter, and later in the same period, with Wisconsin ahead 9-7,
Hawkeyes attempting to win their first ball game at Madison since way back in 1946. They've lost up here every year they played since then. All right. Williams called his team up to the line of scrimmage and then saw that they had too many men on the field. And now Wisconsin is being penalized back to the 30-yard line. Back to the 30-yard line for illegal procedure, and now both Williams and Hackpaw were in the ball game at the same time, so they're penalized back to the 30. It's going to be 3rd down and 10, Wisconsin, on their own 30-yard line. Now everybody's set to go, I guess. So Hackpaw remains in their corner. Here's Dale rolling out. He throws the ball. It's intercepted by Iowa, and it's an Iowa touchdown. An Iowa touchdown. Man, oh man, here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. This Iowa team is going wild. An Iowa man charged in and hit Hackpaw so hard, it batted the ball out of his hands right into the hands of Jeff Langston. He picked it up and ran for the touchdown. And Bill, I can't remember seeing a more thrilling TD than that. Jim, that was really terrific. Actually, the left end came in. Hackpaw didn't see him at all, and he hit him hard. The ball went up in the air. Iowa linemen were batting it around. Finally fell in the hands, and Iowa ball laid for a touchdown. Okay, the Hawkeyes attempting the extra point. The kick is over.
The play which sealed Iowa's victory and crushed Wisconsin's hopes came with dramatic suddenness.
Penalty coming up against the Iowa Hawkeyes. If Wisconsin accepts it, illegal procedure against Iowa is declined by Wisconsin. They don't want them to get the down over again. So it's going to go for 2nd down and 10 for Iowa on their own 32-yard line. Wisconsin playing a 9-man line trying to stop the Iowa ground game, and that, of course, is why Iowa has suddenly taken to the air. Okay, the Hawkeyes split both their ends and both their halfbacks. Duncan rolls out. Once again, he throws a screen pass out to the left to Bobby Teeter. Teeter still going down the sideline, and maybe a touchdown. He's down to the 30, down to the 20, down to the 10. It's a touchdown. Bobby Teeter on a tremendous run, a
on a screen pass, but caught Wisconsin flat-footed. Streaks from his own 32, outran the entire Wisconsin secondary, all the way for a touchdown, and the Iowa Hawkeyes now lead 19-9. And Phil, that was a beautifully executed play.
Jim, the wonderful part about it, when he caught the football, he turned upfield and he was determined to run the length of the field. And besides that, the entire Iowa football team, the entire line was out ahead of him and throwing blocks.
Tremendous blocking out there. Here's the kick and the try for the extra point. It's up and it's good. And it's Iowa 20 and Wisconsin 9. This has been one of the great comeback performances that I know I've ever seen in 9 years of broadcasting football.
10 minutes remained to be played, but the stunned Badgers could not recover, and 20-9 was the final score. 2 weeks later, the Hawkeyes journeyed to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where heartbreak and frustration came to an end. A football jinx which had haunted Iowa for 34 years was smashed.
13 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the first half of the game. Iowa scored in the final moments of the first quarter with a brilliant 80-yard scamper by Willie Fleming, going all the way on a punt return. Good blocking out there by Bob Prescott on that one, incidentally. Wing T formation right. Iowa first team is in there. Yock takes the handoff. After Duncan fakes, here goes Ray Yock. He's into open field, and he may go all the way. He's down to the 40. He's down to the 30. He's down to the 20. Down to the 10, the 5, a touchdown. Touchdown scored by Yock. A 74-yard touchdown run by Ray Yock, ladies and gentlemen, puts Iowa ahead now 13-0.
And with Willie Fleming running wild, Iowa completely outclassed Michigan in the second half.
Okay, here's the handoff going around the left side to Willie Fleming. He's into the secondary, and Willie may go all the way. He's down to the 25, the 20, the 10, the 5 is a touchdown. Touchdown scored by Fleming. Man, oh man, what a back this Willie Fleming is, and what a day he's having today. Willie Fleming, that time, dashing from about his own 38-yard line for a touchdown, and it's Iowa 35, Michigan 14 as the Hawks completely break this game wide open. I can't remember a sophomore having a bigger day in the years that we've been broadcasting football than Willie Fleming is having today.
The game ended 37-14, and Iowa had taken one more giant step toward the Big Ten championship. Minnesota was next to fall, the fifth straight conference victim. Another title was claimed by the Hawkeyes, this one 2 weeks before the season ended. However, Iowa fans were still to witness one of the great games of Midwestern football history. 9 touchdowns, 5 by Ohio State, 4 by Iowa, were recorded in 60 minutes of furious offensive football, said by many to be the finest game ever played in the Iowa Stadium. 2 of the most thrilling Hawkeye plays came as the first half drew to a close, and Ohio leading 21-14.
Duncan back, fake draw, and there's the screen pass to Fleming. Gets the block to the 40, at the 45, cuts to the left, to the 50. He may go all the way, the 30, the 20, the 10, out of bounds on the 5-yard line. Beautiful run by Willie Fleming. Willie Fleming turning in another great run. The Hawkeyes blocking nicely for him all the way. And it's Iowa first down goal to go at the 5-yard line on Ohio State. Less than 3 minutes to play in the first half. Second down goal to go. Way back right, Willie Fleming. Duncan rolling out to the right. He's got a man. Touchdown, Fleming!
4 times Iowa fought back to tie the score against the savage Buckeyes. But Hawkeye cheers and delight were short-lived. Ohio's big fullback Bob White, for the second year in a row, battered the Iowa defense, gained 209 yards rushing, and scored 3 touchdowns. The final score read, Ohio 38, Iowa 28. The Pasadena-bound Hawkeyes rebounded with a vengeance in the season's finale against Notre Dame to whip the visiting Irish for the 3rd year in a row, 31-21.
Second down and 1 to go. The ball on the 36-yard line. The score, friends, 7-0 Iowa leading. Iowa dominating the game thus far in the first half. Langston is wide to the left. Fleming is wide to the right. Duncan goes back to pass. He throws a long one downfield. That is touchdown! Fleming. Fleming got in behind the defensive halfbacks, and it's 13-0. Gain of 36 yards, 34 yards on the forward pass. Scored 13-0. with 10 minutes and 35 seconds left to play in the first half. Iowa on top.
Displaying an awesome running and passing attack, Iowa piled up more than 450 yards against the Irish, with the most spectacular scoring play coming midway in the fourth period.
Iowa's ball now, second down, coming up, and 10 to go. Back goes Duncan to throw. It's complete on a button hook, but the receiver is tackled. That's Furlong along the sideline in front of the Notre Dame bench at the Iowa 47-yard line. Randy Duncan hits Furlong. And again, that Iowa passing attack is moving the ball. Jim Crowdy was there covering Furlong, but all he could do was make the tackle, and it's third down coming up, 4 to go for Iowa on the Iowa 47-yard line, directly in front of the Notre Dame bench. Terry Brennan looking at the play. He could almost, well, he's only 7 yards away from the Iowa wingman, who's in motion now. That's Furlong, but a fake to him by Duncan. Duncan's back to throw. Sets, throws the long one downfield, and it's caught. And his receiver is in for a touchdown as Norton fights off Bob Williams at the 10-yard line and goes in for the touchdown. 53 yards. 53-yard pass. Duncan to Norton, a phenomenal circus catch. Sends Iowa out in front now, 25-14. That Randy Duncan is simply tremendous. He's the greatest we've seen all year, by far. And those receivers of his are glue-fingered. Norton that time had to fight off Williams, and he did, made the grab on the ball, left Williams at the 10, and went in standing up for the touchdown.
Forest Evashevski, in evaluating the most important factors behind the success of his 1958 champions, said proudly,
There have been many superlatives used in describing the 1958 Iowa football team, and I believe that I subscribe to all that have been used. However, I think that the one intangible piece of evidence that is responsible for the success of this team comes in the fact that they didn't make many large mistakes. But I believe that the thing that probably has impressed me more than any other thing has been the attitude of this championship club.
All-America quarterback Randy Duncan, after being selected by his teammates as Iowa's most valuable player, humbly told them,
There's nobody that knows any better than I do that this was all made possible by these men right here and the coaching staff behind me, and I really mean it. I mean, just to be a part of the Iowa squad was all I ever really wanted. The thing that I like most of all and I'll treasure most of all is this.
For the second time in 3 years, thousands of Iowans celebrated New Year's in California. Big Ten supremacy in the Rose Bowl was upheld for the 12th time in 13 years as Iowa overpowered California 38-12. Randy Duncan, Jeff Langston, and Don Horn scored Iowa's first 3 touchdowns for a 20-0 lead at halftime.
Fourth down and a half a yard to go for Iowa. Iowa leading by 20-6 here in the third quarter of play. And here's the handoff. Nocera drives right up the middle, and he got the first down, it looks like, down to just about the California 37. It is first down and 10 to go for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa 20, California 6. Iowa getting 1 in the first quarter and 2 in the second quarter. Running and passing and showing great power. Up into that wing T once again. Now we have Willie Fleming. The wing T out the right side starts into motion. Duncan gives it to Fleming, and he comes over the left side, slips off a tackle, cuts back over the middle, 35-30 on his way down to 25-20, 15 to the 10 to the 5, and he goes in for a touchdown. All the way this time on a gallop of about 37.5 yards for a touchdown. Fleming on that reverse off the tee from Randy Duncan, went over left tackle, cut back over the middle, reversed his field. One bear tackler had his hands on him but couldn't hold him. And Fleming went all the way, 37.5 yards for a touchdown, over a 38-yard gallop. And now it's Iowa 26, California 6. And coming on here, our NBC microphone is Raven Dyer.
Okay, Bob, that was the most brilliant run of the game by Willie Fleming, the boy that they said Cal would not be able to catch. And they couldn't. One man had him at the line of scrimmage. In fact, he had him behind the line of scrimmage as he cut through his own left tackle and then swung out to the right in a brilliant cutback and pulled away from everybody. There were 3 Cal boys who really had a shot at him if they could have caught him, but they were right alongside of him at an angle. They had a good shot at him, but he just had far too much speed for them, and raced, I don't know what they'll call it. It was between 37 and 38 yards. I think Bud said 37 and a half, and that's probably exactly what it was. The most brilliant run of the day by Willie Fleming, making the score 26-6.
Later in the third quarter, the longest run from scrimmage in Rose Bowl history thrilled a crowd of more than 100,000.
Well, a tremendous chunk of yardage to go right now. Fourth down, and between 31 and 32 yards to go. Back on the 16-yard line in punt formation, California's Booter jets it off. Wayne Crow, a long twisting spiral deep downfield. The Iowa receiver taking it back here. It's Ray York slipping. Tackle from behind on the Iowa 33-yard line. Oh, a penalty against Iowa on this one, I believe. There's a clipping penalty coming up here. And again, it's Randy Duncan at quarterback, the first unit backfield in there. The inside handoff, and it goes to Bob Geno, the 25, up to the 30, and the 3 of the 35, the 40, the 45, the 50, the 45 of Cal, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, the 5, and into the end zone for a touchdown. 81 yards goes Bob Geno of Iowa for another Hawkeye score. What tremendous, beautiful, speedy running we're seeing here by these Hawkeyes. From the 19-yard line of Iowa, right after a 15-yard clipping penalty. All the way, 81 yards for a touchdown. Raven, we're seeing the long runs here this afternoon. We're seeing some fantastic running by the white-shirted Iowa Hawkeyes.
Iowa fans began their celebration even before the game was ended.
And the goalposts are starting to go down here at the north end to our left, and they're starting to go down at the south end to our right. Fans are on the field at both ends, but they're in the end zones at the moment, with a scattering of a few here on the near sideline. Iowa faithful, of course, swarming down. The last goalpost has gone down to our right at the south end of Pasadena's Rose Bowl, so there are no goalposts to play with in here now. Clock stop with 5 seconds of playing time remaining. Treadway has Brown running behind him. Bill Gravel in left half. Sends his man into motion out there around the left-hand side. Jerry Morin breaks over the 45 to the 40. Hit by Garvin from the side and brought down on the 35-yard line. And the gun sounds. And the final score of the Rose Bowl game is the State University of Iowa 38 and the University of California 12.
Among many who heaped praise on the Hawkeyes was Big Ten Commissioner Tug Wilson.
I believe you said that earlier before the game that you thought this was one of the better teams to come out of the Big Ten in the last 10 years, didn't you?
Brave and I made that statement, and I believe it honestly. It's one of the greatest offensive teams we've had in a long time. They just simply go out and outscore you. They'll let you have a touchdown and take two.
Lasting and just reward was yet to come for Forest Evashevski, his team, and the state of Iowa when the Hawkeyes were selected as the #1 team in the country by the Football Writers Association of America. Tim Cohane made the formal presentation.
I should like to say in presenting the Grantland Rice Award as emblematic of the 1958 National Collegiate Football Championship that I hope that the winning of it will enrich the already glorious history of athletics at the State University of Iowa to the same measure which we at Look feel that the winning of it by Iowa enriches the stature and the history of the trophy.
There have been many names and many great victories in Iowa's football past. The future will bring many more of both. Before closing this scrapbook of sounds, listen and think back to yet another memorable Iowa football era. Do you recognize this voice?
Rightly or wrongly, football is very definitely tied up with the status of a university.
You are listening to one of the rare recordings of scholar-athlete Nile Kinnick.
Majority of people go to college, don't get that wider horizon, they don't get that better mental equilibrium, they get the opportunity. And I think the same thing is true about football. While possibly the majority of the boys don't get those subjective values that I mentioned, certainly the opportunity is there, and I think that the values they do get are perhaps more intensely brought out than they are in the educational system itself. As far as any activities that I've been connected with are concerned, football has given me the opportunity to round out my philosophy, to change my thinking process and that sort of thing. It's done more for me along that line than any other activity with which I've been connected.
Nowhere in the pages of Iowa sports history does Nile Kinnick have a parallel. Though life was snuffed out for him much too prematurely in 1943 while serving his country, Kinnick is the embodiment of the fact that there are men who will pay the price for their convictions, men who will put the spirit above the flesh. His bearing as an All-American on the football field and as a Phi Beta Kappa scholar in the classroom were only an indication of the way he lived his whole life. Listen again as Nile Kinnick is awarded and accepts the Heisman Football Trophy in New York City following the 1939 season. The presentation is made by the president of the Downtown Athletic Club.
Your accomplishment has caught the fancy and imagination of America. Its admiration and its affection are yours. You have written your name indelibly, not only into the record of American sport, but across the heart of America. And in so doing, you have not only acquired distinction, but a corresponding responsibility as well. We remind you, therefore, that our American youngsters will not only attempt to follow the example which you have thus far set, but will be apt to regard your future performance as worthy of emulation. This trophy we present to you as an emblem of victory, as a token of esteem and admiration, and as an expression of our hope that your future career in whatever field may be as worthy an example to our American boys as that career which you are now closing and which brings you face to face with life's great responsibilities.
Thank you very, very kindly, Mr. Hope. It seems to me that everyone is letting their superlatives run away with them this evening, but nonetheless, I want you to know that I'm mighty, mighty happy to accept this trophy this evening. Every football player in these United States dreams about winning that trophy and of this fine trip to New York. Every player considers that trophy the acme in recognition of this kind. And the fact that I am actually receiving this trophy tonight almost overwhelmed me. And I know that all those boys who have gone before me must have felt somewhat the same way. From my own personal viewpoint, I consider my winning this award as indirectly a great tribute to the new coaching staff at the University of Iowa, headed by Dr. Eddie Anderson, and to my teammates sitting back in Iowa City. A finer man and a better coach never hit these United States. And a finer bunch of boys and a more courageous bunch of boys never graced the gridirons of the Midwest than that Iowa team in 1939. I wish that they might all be with me tonight to receive this trophy. They certainly deserve it. I want to take this grand opportunity to thank collectively all the sports writers and all the sportscasters and all those who have seen fit, have seen their way clear to cast a ballot in my favor for this trophy. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Prince and his committee, the Heisman Award Committee, and all those connected with the Downtown Athletic Club for this trophy and for the fine time that they're showing me. And not only for that, but for making this fine and worthy trophy available to the football players of this country. Finally, if you will permit me, I'd like to make a comment which in my mind is indicative perhaps of the greater significance of football and sports emphasis in general in this country, and that is, I thank God I was warring on the gridirons of the Midwest and not on the battlefields of Europe. I can speak confidently and positively that the players of this country would much rather struggle and fight to win the Heisman Award than a croix de guerre. Thank you.
And now with the plaudits of thousands ringing in his ears, Nile Kinnick, 5'8", 170 pounds of fine American young manhood, Phi Beta Kappa scholarship material, retires to his seat.
There is hardly a student today who does not associate the name Nile Kinnick with something worth imitating. He belonged to the whole university, even to all of Iowa.